トビデオ
No other domesticated animal has had quite such an impact on Japanese culture than the cat. While we don't know the exact date when the domesticated cat appeared in Japan, popular theories place their arrival alongside Buddhism when it arrived around the 7th century, cats accompanying monks and missionaries to keep pests away from shrines and temples. But the first confirmed record of a cat in Japan was found in the ancient diaries of Emperor Uda on March 11, 889 CE, where he wrote at length about the joy his pet cat brought him, ending with the sentence, "I am convinced it is superior to all other cats." Cats have been in Japan for centuries, so long that they are inseparably linked to the country's history, folklore, and religion. They've been ascribed supernatural powers, some cats being masters of great and terrible powers, while other cats being harbingers of good fortune. But the big appeal of the cat in Japan lies in their practicality as pets. Since space is a premium in such a densely populated and urbanized island nation, the Japanese home is more likely to have a cat given their size and the fact that they don't require an outdoor space like a dog does. Plus, they're just so darn cute. And as Japanese society has marched into the modern era, the cat has gone along with it. Within the realm of anime and manga, a lot of positive representation has been given to cats. Of cute animal companions, they can almost be seen as the default. One of Japan's most globally recognized icons is, in fact, a cat. Disregard what the creators say though. But where there are cats in anime, there is also the Catgirl. And they also had to start from somewhere.
そうだ、ここ元のアパートだわ。よかった。私を置いてっちゃったお母さんが連れ戻してくれたんだわ。よかった。
1984's The Star of Cottonland is about a 2-month-old kitten named Chibi Neko. Abandoned by her original owners, she is found by a young man named Tokyo, who takes her into his home. And though his mother is both allergic and deathly afraid of cats, his parents decide to let Tokyo keep the kitty because he needs an outlet after having failed his university entrance exams.
だから私はあの猫を飼うんです。あの猫の看病をしてる時の時代は目が生き生きしていました。昔のままの元気な時代でした。
But the hook to this, and I imagine where this might lose some people, is that Chibi Neko does not see herself as a cat, but rather a little human girl with cat ears who believes that she is destined to grow up into a human when she gets older. This is reflected in her design, where we, the audience, do not see her as a cat, but as the young girl she imagines herself to be.
今のとここういう格好してるけど、いつかは耳も取れて、尻尾も消えて、人間と同じになる。
And for most of the movie, it follows Chibi Neko's adventures of her being a cat who wishes to become a human. She plays with Tokyo, goes on adventures in the park with him, tries to mimic human behavior, which often gets her into big trouble. And she even gets to meet other cats who, like her, are also portrayed as humans with cat ears, from the most beautiful tomcats to the scruffiest alley cats. When I trawled the depths of 80s anime looking for subjects to yammer on about, The Star of Cottonland was a remarkable find. Not only did I find out the origin of the most vaunted anime archetype, the Catgirl, but it turns out said origin also got a really good film adaptation out of it. But judging from that teensy slice of plot synopsis, it honestly feels like there's not much to go on stretching out a story for 90 minutes. Would you want to watch a full-length movie of a cat being a cat in the form of a little girl? I do know some of you said yes, but to the rest of you Philistines, you might see such a concept as dull, or worse, creepy. Let me assure you though, there really is more to this anime film than meets the cat's eye. This is a film based off of what is considered an important manga text in the history of the medium, and it didn't get that way through cuteness alone, though it did help. Let's talk about The Star of Cottonland and see why it might be the cat's meow. You can trace the idea of catgirls all the way back to Japanese folklore. One of the many yokai in folklore is the bakeneko. It is said that if a cat grows older than its normal lifespan, it would turn into a bakeneko, a cat with magical powers that can cast hexes, possess humans, raise the dead, and, most importantly, transform into humans. Another cat yokai is the nekomata, a two-tailed variation of the bakeneko. They are considered far more intelligent and powerful than your average bakeneko, and they are also always evil beings. They look on human beings with complete contempt and transform into humans to blackmail, enslave, or even eat them. So already there's a supernatural basis for humanoid cats in Japanese culture, and that would inform anime and manga culture once the 20th century rolled around. The earliest prototype of the anime Catgirl can be attributed to the early manga author Shigeru Mizuki in his landmark yokai comedy manga Gegege no Kitaro. One of the main characters in the manga is a half-human, half-yokai girl named Neko Musume. While seemingly appearing to be a normal young human girl, her bakeneko side is shown through the ears given to her by the ribbon she wears and her cat-like smile. But even then, her design is purposely meant to evoke the monstrous half-human, half-cats in folklore. She is not drawn to be cute, at least not until future adaptations. To pinpoint the true example of the modern anime Catgirl, we fast forward a decade later to a mangaka named Yumiko Oshima. Born on August 31st, 1947, Oshima made her debut in the world of shoujo manga in 1968, shortly after graduating high school, with the short story Paula no Namida. At the time, women mangaka actually writing manga for young girls was a completely new concept, and Oshima was an early member of what would be known as the Year 24 group, a generation of shoujo mangaka who wrote highly regarded works that would influence manga and anime both within the shoujo sphere and outside of it. Even before she wrote Cottonland, Oshima was already a key innovator in her field. She is best known for pioneering a free-flow style of paneling to better capture a protagonist's emotional state, and she's also credited for being the first manga writer to have a character's internal monologue be represented outside of speech bubbles. Oshima's specialty was delving into a relatable anxiety that her young girl audience had with leaving childhood behind and the expectations Japanese society had towards women. This can be shown in her big hit prior to Cottonland, Banana Bread Pudding, a story about a young girl whose dream is to marry a closeted gay man, which stems from her own anxiety of her sister getting married. Because if she gets married, she'll no longer accompany her to the bathroom at night and sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to her as she does her business, all to keep her from being kidnapped by the most beautiful man-eating clown in the world. It's far more nuanced than I'm letting on, trust me. The star of Cottonland began its run in the magazine Lala sometime in 1978. It was the type of series where the chapters would only appear sporadically, but to make up for it, they tended to be around 60 to 70 pages long. And the plot is the same as I had described above, the life of a kitten who sees herself as a little girl. Cottonland was a massive hit right away. It had to be because, even through the super sketchy art style, Oshima knew how to draw cuteness. And it appealed not just to young girls who could relate to Chibi Neko, but also to people outside the shoujo demographic who thought Chibi Neko was as cute as a bug's ear. By around the early 80s, Cottonland had produced enough chapters to get 4 volumes of what was soon to be a 6-volume tankobon run. But since this was the go-go 80s, the environment was ripe for an anime adaptation. An adaptation that would be provided by Mushi Productions. Yes, the Mushi Productions founded by the god of anime and manga himself, His Lordship Osamu Tezuka. That was not the same Mushi Productions. The Mushi that Tezuka had founded in the 60s went bankrupt in 1973. However, the animators union that formed within that studio was still around, so they were able to reform the studio 4 years later. The director would be animator Shinichi Tsuji, and judging from his resume, you can probably guess who the target demographic for this film was. But if you haven't guessed, it's children. Most of the anime he has been a part of are titles that skew younger. Not all, of course, he did key animation on Belladonna of Sadness of all things, but his most prolific director's credit up to this point was directing a few episodes of the early Nickelodeon anime import Belle and Sebastian. So if you're still expecting anything seedy out of this concept, you won't find that here. This is pure rated G kitten antics. Plus, when it's made for families in mind, that also means the massive push for merch sales. Chibi Neko is just too marketable looking to not pass up such a golden goose. If you've been staying up to date with this show's look into 80s shoujo adaptations, you will know that they were not the biggest key beneficiaries of that decade's financial windfalls. For shoujo, it was either low budgets or no budgets. So I'm pleased to announce that the star of Cottonland is an excellent exception to the rule. Obviously, you're not going to receive the large-scale flashy brand of Sakuga in this kitty anime, but what you will get is incredibly human character acting, both from the humans and the cats who look like humans. The animation is subtle but so lifelike. The characters move like how they would in the real world. It's almost as if the animators were referencing live performers acting out the scenes, especially the cats. Even though they are portrayed as humans walking on two legs, their motions, their postures, their behavior, and even their facial expressions are unmistakably cat-like. It's impressive the animators are able to execute this without getting too cartoony. Sometimes characters will express big emotions, especially Chibi Neko, but they rarely, if at all, break model. If they do exaggerations, it's more to convey specific cat feelings that are difficult to portray in human character designs, such as when Chibi Neko eats too much out of a trash can and subsequently feels heavy.
私の体すごい重さになっちゃったみたい。あ、
Speaking of, animation and character designer Katsumi Aoshima wonderfully translates Oshima's design work to the big screen. Oshima's art style is very impressionistic, even by shoujo standards. Aoshima opts to adapt her characters by giving them clean, almost delicate designs, especially Chibi Neko, who looks more like a porcelain doll than a cat. But that only serves to reflect her innocence. The designs of the other cats also reflect their personalities, from the regal Persian tomcat Raphael to the youthful tabby cat Suzuki Buchineko to the pair of elderly alley cats who have seen better days. Oshima's impressionism can also be seen in the gorgeous backdrops of art director Kazusuke Yoshihara. His environments are filled with vibrant colors that make the green grass greener or the orange twilight more orange. Something we can credit to the use of watercolors, making even the most minimalist setting feel teeming with natural life. Some scenes even have the composition and atmosphere of traditional woodblock paintings, which is interesting considering the setting mostly takes place in the modern Tokyo suburbs. The feel of Cottonland is dreamlike but low-key. This is matched by the soundtrack done by French pianist and composer Richard Clayderman. The genre he works in is easy listening piano and keyboard music, which dominates the soundtrack, and it suits the life and journey of a tiny kitten in a big chaotic world. And voicing this itty bitty kitty is Mina Tominaga, already making a name for herself as the voice of cute girls. Her voice here is a tiny, almost fragile mew of a voice, but it has a bold spirit behind it. It's the first voice you would imagine coming out of a curious little kitten.
子供だと思ってバカにしないで。
じゃあ何になると思ってんだい？
白鳥、
じゃあコウモリは？
吸血鬼、
狼。
狼男。
From the clips and the above plot synopsis, you may ascertain that this movie is nothing but 90 minutes of cute human-shaped kitty antics. It's certainly structured that way at least. Cottonland has less of an overarching plot and more of a series of vignettes, usually involving Chibi Neko trying to be more like a human but failing comically because she's not a human, she's a cat.
あれに捕まって登るか。
But don't think for one second that this whole movie is just Lolcats the 80s anime. The trials and subsequent lessons Chibi Neko experiences over the course of the film are the heart and soul of it. For instance, we start off with Chibi Neko abandoned on the sidewalk, cold, wet, and hungry. But she genuinely thinks her original owner is going to come back for her soon. Even when she's taken in by Tokyo, She doesn't accept him as her new owner and goes back to her old owner's residence as soon as she gets outside. But what she doesn't learn is that her old owner had to leave her because her family is moving to a new apartment thanks to money struggles and they can't afford to keep their pet cat anymore. So, all that leaves is Chibineko waiting by a shut door for an owner that no longer lives there.
不憫ね。あの部屋のご夫婦、仕事に失敗したんでしょ。家賃も払えないで夜逃げ同然引っ越してったんですって。
This conflict gets resolved by her seeing that Tokyo has come looking for her and affectionately calls her by her name. She realizes that Tokyo is her new caring owner now, and she reacts to this revelation with unbridled joy.
冷たくてしなみついておまけに噛みついてしまった。あんた優しいわ。
This affection for Tokyo is what ends up driving Chibineko's actions throughout the movie. She starts the movie already with the belief that she is destined to become a human one day when she grows up, but with Tokyo added to the mix, she becomes more determined to see that belief become a reality. Because her affection towards Tokyo goes beyond him being the man who feeds her. She's in love with him, and her desire to become human is fueled by her wanting to communicate that love to him. Though this is a very chaste romance Chibineko has for her owner, it nevertheless is also prone to jealousy. The few conflicts the story has is that Tokyo already has a human girl he's in love with, law school student Mitsuko, and her presence only motivates Chibineko to become a human harder.
時を取っちゃうとしても、それより先に私が人間になって時を取っちゃうんだ。だって私の方が早いんだもの。私の方が早いんだもの。
But therein lies the tragedy of our feisty feline's dream. It simply cannot happen. In her first meeting with the tomcat Raphael, he breaks it to her by saying that her fantasy of growing up to become human is exactly that, a fantasy. He tells her this by showing her the recently deceased body of an elderly alley cat who died of old age. He lived a long life as a cat, but never grew up to become a human being. This also motivates Chibineko to become a human as soon as possible. She doesn't want to die a cat.
床で眠ることなんかしない。股間のお掃除も大っぴらにしない。洗顔方法も変える。人間と同じことをして人間になる。
The cats aren't the only ones dealing with their own drama. Running parallel to them are the humans and their drama. Tokyo did take Chibineko in out of the kindness of his heart, but he also did so as a way to distract himself from missing his college entrance exams due to sickness, which forced him into a Ronin lifestyle for the next year. There's also more sadness behind his character that is left unsaid by the movie. Namely, he's skipping out on prep school just to hang around the park for the entire day, as if he's trying to enjoy the last bit of freedom his youth can afford him. But the character that goes through the most traditional character arc is Tokyo's mother. A traditional stay-at-home Japanese housewife, she's the one who's the most negatively affected by Chibineko coming into her life. It's not just that she's allergic to her, not allergic as in sneezing, but allergic as in I feel ill around this cat, but she's also deathly afraid of cats, which is the source of some of the more comedic moments in the film.
猫さん、どこ？
はい、あげる。
But in the second half of the movie, Chibineko finds herself a long way from home while looking for Raphael. And while Tokyo, though worried, trusts her ability to find her way home, his mom is worried sick about the cute little kitty she's also afraid of.
特に危険なり野良犬または凶暴な野良猫に噛み殺されること多く、水の威力を恐れず川にはまって流されることもあり、
Tokyo's mother is in a constant internal battle with herself over her needs and her want to keep her son happy. Ultimately, the latter wins out when she decides to go out and look for Chibineko herself and ends up being the one to find her, and in the process, finds affection towards her. Though when you get right down to the nitty-gritty kitty litter of it all, this is still Chibineko's story at the end of the day, because she's the one who learns the big lesson of the movie. So about that title, what exactly is Cottonland? According to Raphael, Cottonland is a utopian fantasy land, the legend of which has been passed down through generations of cat kinds. And the centerpiece of Cottonland, or star as it were, is the princess Whitefield. According to Raphael, Chibineko looks exactly like a young white Fields, and that's why he hopes to mate with her when she grows older.
俺あんたを初めて見た時猫の直感でこれが俺のホワイトフィールドだって思ったんだ。直感は確かだぜ。俺あんたに一目惚れさ。あんたは成長したら誰もかなわぬ美しい猫になるよ。
Okay, gross, but then again he is a cat not bound by human morality, so moving on, the point is he's telling Chibineko the story for two reasons. One, to compare her dream of becoming human to like a fantasy land and how it is purely fictional wish fulfillment, and two, to get her to accept the fact that growing into a cat isn't all bad. By cat standards, you can turn into a beautiful princess. The Star of Cottonland isn't just cute cat antics, it's a parable about accepting that the joy and ignorance of youth cannot go on forever. You will have to eventually grow up, or in Chibineko's case, learn to be a better cat. This is what her whole journey in the second half of the film is all about. Late one night, she decides to go look for Raphael again. This is after she becomes concerned for his safety after last night when he was almost caught by a young man in the neighborhood who catches stray cats to take care of them as if they were his own.
あの猫を捕まえてこの胸に抱きしめたい。あの猫のために金モール、銀モール、クッションにネイス、あらゆる贅沢な調度品も揃えました。トイレの砂は砂金入りです。
Funny how Oshima basically made the bitchy boy version of the crazy cat lady. Also, don't care how dashingly handsome he is, his house must reek. Anyway, Chibineko spends the entire night looking for Raphael. When the morning comes, she's in a whole different part of the city with no knowledge of how to get back home. And if she wants to survive, she must rely on other cats to teach her lessons of how to become a cat. Mostly the pretty young tabby Suzuki Buchineko. In the harsh world outside of Tokyo's residence, Chibineko is faced with a lot of grim dangers not fit for a kitten. Busy traffic, unaccommodating humans. She even almost gets kidnapped by two humans who wish to skin her to make a shamisen. And yes, that's how they used to make them. But the bitterest pill Chibineko is forced to swallow is when Suzuki Buchineko hunts and catches a bird for her to eat. This makes Chibineko realize everything she has ever eaten was alive at some point, and they all must die for her sake.
食べ物って初めから死んでたわけじゃない。生きてたんだ。みんな生きてたんだ。
This is a key moment in her journey not to accept that she will have to grow up one day, but also that she will have to die one day. Not as a human, but as a cat. And soon, she finally, figuratively, grows up by finding her way home using only her instincts. It's a great sequence and another fine example of communicating cat behavior through cat eyes in a way a human can understand.
なんだか呼んでるみたいだ。こっちだよって言ってる。
The film ends with Chibineko coming home, getting a bath, and having a dream where she's in a place that may be Cottonland. All where she is surrounded by cats like herself and Raphael, symbolically showing that she has taken his words to heart. It's hard to gauge whether or not The Star of Cottonland was a success in theaters. After all, it did face stiff competition at the box office in the form of Nausicaa of the Valley of the Winds, but its influence can really be felt to this day. Chibineko and the rest of the cats in Cottonland are the progenitors of the modern notion of the catgirl and catboy archetypes we see in anime and manga to this day. Knowing this is extra funny when you consider the first megafauna catgirls in anime. The Puma sisters and Aisha Clan owe their existence to Chibineko. After all, the megafauna cannot exist without the tiny shrew-like creature it evolved from. As for how it works as a movie by itself, The Star of Cottonland is, overall, a good film, even if it might drag in a few places. Comes with the territory of comical cat antics mixed with a hypnotic dreamlike atmosphere. This is a film that could either enchant you or bore you depending on your mood or how you feel about cats. But with its captivating design work and a story with a lot of hard truth mixed with a lot of heart, The Star of Cottonland has to be one of the top cats of kitten-based media. Shine on, Chibineko. Shine on like the star you are.
バイバイ。
Thank you all for watching. If you like this video or want to support this channel, please donate to my Patreon. Each dollar can give you early access to my videos as they come out, as well as keep the channel running a bit more smoothly. You can also subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, or just like this video. Either way, you'll be helping me out. That's all for now. See you for the next round of tapes.